Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or as we like to say here at Shady Acres Woodshop, howdy! Today I have a piece of maple burl. This was sent to me by everyone's friend Gary over at the Papa 1947. I know you all watch Gary. He sent this to me a while back, and I'm going to make a winged bowl out of it. It's roughly 8 inches by 14 inches by a little over 2 inches thick. That's at the thinnest end, because that's where we're going to end up, is at the thinnest end. And what I'm going to do to make a winged bowl is this will be the top. I've already drilled my hole, so that'll be up against the headstock. And on the back side, the bottom side that I'll be working on first, I'm going to bring all of this wood up and leave about I don't know, maybe a ½ an inch up here, and then there's going to be a bowl down here, and then another ½ inch over here. So this will all be gone, this will all be gone, and it'll be a winged bowl. I have to be careful to leave enough on the top so that I can put a bead around the edge of the bowl. The bowl will be here. I want a bead around it with a little bit of space from the edge out. So I have to keep that in mind, something I sometimes forget. And we'll have this one live edge, but it'll only be thin, like that. And we'll have this bark inclusion still left on the top side, and that's going to look great. So I'm looking forward to this turn, something a little different. Haven't done one of these for quite a little while. I'm going to get my mask and face shield on, but first we're going to get this mounted up on the lathe. So I have my woodworm screw installed, and I have the spindle locked. And I'm just going to thread onto that screw. Turning these is always kind of like standing in front of a propeller, but it's kind of a warm day, especially to be wearing this jacket. So the fan effect will be nice with the fresh air coming off of this. There we go. I don't know how balanced it's going to be. Not too bad. A little heavy on this end, but some of that's going to go away. Bring up the tool rest and the tailstock. And what I always like to do is spin this up before I let the live center touch. That way I'm sure it's finding the correct spot. And it did its job. So I'm going to have to probably go sharpen up my 5/8 inch standard grind bowl gouge and get my mask and face shield on. And we're going to get to making us a winged bowl. Stand by. We'll be turning at a little over 800 RPM, 5/8 inch bowl gouge, mask and face shield on. I hear something that sounds a little hollow to me. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's this, I guess. Okay, I'm going to put some CA in here. Can you see that? I'm going to put some CA around here. There's a big gap here, so I can't get all of it, but I can get probably this bottom part. So I'll be back in a minute. Okay, we'll see if this is going to stick with us. I kind of think it will. Feels pretty solid now. Now what I have to concentrate on is I still have to thin this out, but see this narrow here and wide here? We don't want that at all. We want the same distance all the way across here. So I need to come back a good ½ inch, maybe more. So I'll be working on that while I'm thinning this out. And I don't know if we're going to go with a tenon or a recess on this. Haven't quite decided. But I did sharpen up my bowl gouge. I'm going to get my mask and face shield back on and we'll get at it. Yep, just what we want. Just need to keep coming in. We're still too thick on this edge, but it's looking good. Okay, I'm going to sharpen up one more time so I can take a couple of passes and clean up my work on the underside here, and then we'll start making some sort of a bowl, although we just about have a bowl, don't we? I'll be right back. Well, I guess I've decided a couple of things. I think these sides are too steep, so I'm going to come back in here and get rid of this corner, round this corner up. I'm not going to touch anything up this way, but just kind of round that corner up a little more sweep to it. I might touch something up here, but not much. And I'm going to go with a tenon for my smaller jaws, so that'll be a 2 1/8 inch tenon. So I will just mark that out the normal way, and that's because by the time I get this done it's going to be smaller anyway. So let me get my mask and face shield back on and we'll get at it. I'm also picking the speed up about 1100 RPM. And I'm just going to use this diamond point tool to straighten up the sides of the tenon. And that's good. Time for sanding. Well, for me, these winged bowls always present a problem in sanding. It's difficult to get into this corner. Plus, you have way more air than you have wood. So I'm going to spin the lathe in reverse a little faster than normal. I usually sand it about 350. This is about 420, in hopes that my sanding disc won't fall into the air. Also, it's important to use only the top edge of the sanding disc. In this case, you want to keep it tipped that way. Over here is okay, but out here is a problem. And I really don't want to have to hold it still and sand like that. I don't like that. I'm a little bit lazy. So let me get my mask on. We'll see if this is going to work at all. Starting with 80 grit, and I will work up through 400. Well, actually, that's working surprisingly well. It takes a light touch, but it's working. It's even getting into this corner a little bit. I might have to take off the sanding disc and hold it here to get right in this corner, or I might take my Sandoflex. I'm not sure. That would get in there okay. What the risk with this is hitting this top edge against here. It won't happen automatically, but if I'm not careful it will, and it'll put a little nick in there, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to try and do it all with 2-inch sanding disc, So that's what I'm going to be doing for the next hour or so. And I'll bring you back when it's time to put some finish on here. I decided to go with the Howard Feed and Wax for this piece. Reason being, I have a similar piece in the house. And every time I pick it up, I'm just amazed at how tactile it feels. You can feel every bit of the grain through this finish. And it just feels nice. I just like it. It's so smooth and silky. Plus, look at that. It just brings the grain out magically. It's just amazing stuff. And I don't get anything for saying that. Howard Feed and Wax does not send me anything. They've never contacted me. This is what it looks like. And one of the reasons, it works excellently, but another reason to really like it is here in the States, it's very inexpensive. I understand that's not the case in the UK and maybe in Australia. I understand it costs a whole lot more. Here it's about $8, $9, I guess. Maybe the price has gone up a little bit. There, I understand it's somewhere around $25, maybe pushing $30. But even at that, it lasts so long. I've been using this bottle for probably 2 years, so your $25, $30 is going to get you a lot of usage out of it. So the sanding went very well, easier than I thought it would be. Not easy. I did have to peel off the 2-inch sanding disc and hold it in this corner here, and then I sanded this part same way. So I had to do that kind of by hand. And what I did on these edges, I did it the same way. While I had the 2-inch in my hand, I just went like that, back and forth, and sanded. It's not as smooth on those edges as it is everywhere else. And the reason being is these are saw cuts, I think bandsaw cuts. And I kind of like to leave that texture in there. So I didn't try and remove all of the texture. It's smooth. It feels good. But there's just a little bit of texture to it. Oh yeah, another thing I like about Howard Feed and Wax is it's only one coat. Put it on, wait 20 minutes, buff it up, and you're done. That's always a plus. So I'll get this applied and buffed up, and I'll bring you back when it's time to start working on the inside. That's going to be fun. Don't let me forget about my bead around that bowl edge. See you in a bit. I've turned it around and mounted the tenon in the chuck, and now I just want to take my pencil and make a mark on where I want to put that bead. So I'm thinking of maybe 3/8 of an inch or so inside of the outer edge, and this edge here is narrower than this edge. So I'm starting here, and I'm just gonna spin it around a little bit. So that's about where I want the bead. We'll have, looks like almost 3/4 of an inch on this edge and about 3/8 of an inch on that edge. And then I'm just going to take my nice and sharp 5/8 inch standard grind bowl gouge and come in from this edge all the way into that line. Probably 2 or 3 passes. The top is flatter than I thought it was. It's actually quite flat. Maybe not perfect, but pretty dang close. So I'm just going to bring material from here and deposit it over here. And then we'll start hollowing it out. Let me get my mask and face shield on. We'll be turning at 1100 RPM. So far so good. Kind of scary. Well, that actually feels pretty good. Maybe I'll stop there. We'll start hollowing it out. I'm going to switch to a smaller 3/8 inch gouge here for a minute and get in here real tight. I want to narrow down this bead. It's too wide. This always scares me. I don't know if it's because I don't know what I'm doing. That's quite likely. Sometimes when I come in here at this angle, it'll hop back, and I don't want it to do that. I just want to go straight in and thin down this. So that's why I thought a smaller gouge might help me out. I hope so. I'm sure somebody will chime in on why I'm having this problem. Let me get my mask and face shield back on. We'll get at it. Well, that wasn't so bad. Hooray for me. Now I need to shape this bead. It needs to be round, not flat. And I've been toying with what idea I'm going to use for that. What tool I'm going to use for that, I should say. And I think I'm going to use this homemade point tool. I think that'll let me round this over. I could use a skew or something, but this is less aggressive. So let's see if that works. Well, now I have it at kind of a point, but I think I'm going to leave it there because in sanding it'll round it over. I'm afraid if I come any further, either way I'm going to flatten it off, and I don't want to do that. So we'll just leave that like it is for now. I think sanding is going to take good care of it. And I'll go back to my 5/8 inch bowl gouge. Okay, I'm chickening out. Oh yeah, we're good. 1/2 inch. Quarter inch. Now that's probably, I need a little bit of heft to the center portion so that it doesn't rock, you know, I want a little bit of weight. So that's probably good. Yep, I'm happy with that. I'm going to scrape. Nice. Nice. Feels good, looks good. Well, we know what that means. Time for sanding. I'll be doing all the sanding with my 2-inch sanding disc, starting with 80 grit, but I'm going to stay away from this. I'll come up here and I'll come up here, but I'm going to stay away from this edge till I get up to about 180, 240, something like that, and then I'll start, because this will just take it right down in a hurry, and I don't want that. I look for this to be a very simple sanding procedure. The bottom side was pretty easy. This should be even easier. So I'll have the lathe spinning in reverse at about 350 or about 400, I guess. And let me get my mask on and I'll show you what that's going to look like. And then I'll do the same thing forward. Only in forward I'll work over on this side. And I'll do that through each grit, again up through 400, and I'll bring you back when it's time to put the finish on there. This is looking good. What a beautiful piece of wood. Look at that. Maple burl. And so much burl. A lot of times you don't get that, you know. It'll be half burl and half plain green. But we're getting it with this. Thank you, Gary. The Papa, 1947. Thank you, buddy, for sending this to me. The sanding was pretty dang easy. I don't think I spent much more than half an hour. What do you think? Pretty nice, huh? Ooh-wee, look at that. Man. So I'll take my brush and brush it into the bark areas here, and I'll give it 20 minutes. Then I'll buff it up, and then it'll be time to turn around and take off that tenon, and that's when I'll bring you back. See you in a bit. Okay, the piece finished up nicely, and now I've mounted a block of wood in my chuck, and I'm just going to slip a non-slip cloth over that, and then bring up the bowl, and then bring up the tailstock. I still have my center hole there for reference. Just going to apply some gentle pressure, wiggle the piece around a little bit, make sure it feels seated, and bring up the tool rest. Then I'm just going to take a standard grind 3/8 inch bowl gouge and begin to removing that tenon. We'll start out turning at about 500 RPM. And I want to get a little bit closer with my tool rest here. And I'm going to grab a 3/8 inch swept back bowl gouge so that I can get in a little bit closer. And I'm going to turn the speed down to about 400 RPM. About 350 actually. And see how everything looks. Looks good. So now I'm going to turn the speed down to 200 RPM, and with my right hand on the gouge I'm going to apply the bevel of the gouge against the bottom of the bowl with pressure towards the headstock, left hand on the switch. When the little nub stops turning, you know we're through. Like that. couldn't be any easier or cleaner. And then I'll just take it over here to the workbench, sand this up, sign it, finish it, and I'll be right back. Well, there it is, one maple burl winged bowl in the books. Turned out just beautifully. I really like this one. I didn't do anything to the cut edges other than sand them slightly. I considered it. It would have been real easy to take this over, just set it upside down on my table saw and cut 2 straight edges. I could have done that really easily. But why would I? There's the bottom all finished up. It's just beautiful. Look at all that burl grain. Oh my. Got a bark inclusion here. Got the live edge here. I'm really happy with it. Thank you again, Gary, the Papa, 1947, for sending this to us for all to enjoy. If you like this video, thumbs up please. I'd sure appreciate it. If you're a subscriber, thank you very kindly. I truly appreciate that. If you're not a subscriber, you might consider becoming one. I put out regular videos about 1 a week, and I'd like to keep in touch. Your comments are always welcome, and I respond to all of them. So for now, this is Phil, Shady Acres Woodshop, signing off.